We are. Let me check the stream. Make sure we're good to go. And it is good.
Cool.
There we go.
And I've got it up on my end too, just in case we need it.
Okay.
I figured after the fiasco, it's best that we both have it up.
Yeah, I would suggest from now on you record your side too.
Yeah.
Because if that happens again, I swear I will. I will take a sledgehammer to my computer.
I can record it on my end. I'll need to change some settings real quick, but I can.
I think we'll be okay for tonight, but just for the future.
Okay.
Always, you go ahead and take and record it on your side too, just in case.
Yeah.
All right, so I got the 2 news stories in there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to take the first one, and I'll take the second one, or whichever one you want to do?
It doesn't matter. I mean, we can actually let me close that. So do we want to go? Do we want to do the funny story first,
Yes.
and then?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that, and then if you want, you can do the Lowe story.
Okay.
And then I'll do the future is bright one.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Let me go ahead.
Yep, I've got all my tabs open. Got gaming history. Got your Wikipedia links. So.
All right.
I'm ready if you are.
I am ready. Let's do this in 3, 2, 1. Do you like the show and want to help support us? Want us to stay ad-free? Do you want extra episodes every month? Well, then head over to patreon.com/nerdcaveretro and become a Patreon supporter of this very show. Greetings, programs. It is episode 1337. What? This was like 111. Another edition of the Nerd Cave Retro Show. My name is Jason Robbins.
And my name is Derek Diamond.
So, Derek, I hear you got a funny little thing that you want to rant on tonight. So I would like to jump directly into that.
Oh, geez.
So excited.
Okay, so I got to give a shout out to Nerd Cave Retro fan Brandon Rutledge for posting this on Facebook. And the headline was very intriguing. And as soon as I read it, I thought we've got to talk about this on the podcast. It's not gaming related, but I know you back in the pop culture palette days would love to talk about the overutilization of political correctness in today's society.
Yeah.
So just strap your seatbelt on. This comes to us from dailywire.com. The headline reads, "Bringing home the bacon is now offensive." Guess who it offends?
Okay, here's the thing. I'm not a vegan, but I am a vegetarian. Well, actually, I'm a pescatarian. I eat fish, seafood, and occasionally I will eat chicken. I am not hardcore when it comes to meat eating or anything like that. Whatever you want to do, you do. I do it for, not only do I love animals, but I do it for health reasons. So,
which is a fair point.
Yeah, and this kind of shit.
I haven't even gotten into the article yet, but you were correct in the second part of the headline. Guess who it offends?
Yeah, I already know who it offends.
All right, so I'm going to read the highlights from this article because it's actually pretty long. The common phrase, "bringing home the bacon," may now be offensive to some. If you thought women, you'd be wrong. According to The Independent, phrases like "bringing home the bacon" and "putting all your eggs in one basket" aren't merely harmless quirks of the English language, but actually phrases that could be offending vegans and
you
vegetarians.
You can't even say "all your eggs in one basket." You can't even say that anymore?
Apparently not. So, the Independent article is based off a separate article, which I did not bother to read, from a researcher who said that meat is not just a form of sustenance, but a source of societal power. Throughout history, ironically, this person's name, the last name is Hamza. It's kind of funny that the word ham is in their name. Wrote, meat was something only the wealthy could afford, while peasants had to subsist on a mostly vegetarian diet. After some literary references, Hamza then lists all the bad things meat has wrought. Climate change, environmental degradation, studies noting some negative effects of meat eating on the human body, and concerns about animal welfare, which, in that aspect, I understand. Let's see. This is where it just gets weird. This is a quote from the article, the separate article that I didn't read, the full thing. The increased awareness of vegan issues will filter through our consciousness to produce new modes of expression. After all, and this is an example of one, there's more than one way to peel a potato. At the same time, metaphors involving meat can gain an increased intensity if the killing of animals for food becomes less socially acceptable. The image of killing two birds with one stone is, if anything, made more powerful by the animal-friendly alternative of feeding two birds with one scone. What the fuck are you people thinking? Jesus Christ.
What about there's more than one way to skin a cat? Can we still use that one?
I guess not.
Look, I have like 5 cats, so it does not offend me at all.
Oh my God. And it goes on. Let's see. This increase, which Hamza accepts without question, will lead people to stop using meat-based idioms like bringing home the bacon. So basically they're saying that if we start to incorporate more, I guess, vegan-friendly terms, that these classic terms, like the title says, will go away.
Is it just me as a Gen Xer that I hate baby boomers and millennials equally?
I'm a millennial and I hate millennials.
Oh boy. Yeah. I hate extremes of any kind, especially, and I don't want to say like this has overtones of a political. It's a very political thing. It becomes a political thing.
Of course it is.
I hate extremes on both sides. I hate it. It's what's wrong with this country right now is nobody wants to just sit back and go, does this fucking matter?
It really doesn't.
We're earning our explicit tag tonight. So if there's any kids listening, maybe your kids need to listen to this because look, there's bigger problems in the world right now than whether or not somebody's offended by bringing home the bacon or
it's not even about bacon. That's the problem, is that it's about money. It's not about freaking pork. And besides, let me jump on the extremist side for one thing. The alternative of feeding two birds with one scone. What if one of the birds has a gluten allergy?
Yeah.
That might offend the animals. I mean, if they can't eat the scone.
Here's something I actually was wondering about, because eventually in the next couple of years they're actually working on lab-grown meat at this point, which is going to, once they're able to mass produce lab-grown meat, it's going to change the meat industry. It's going to stop all of the greenhouse gas emissions that are needed for all the cows and all that different type of stuff. And chickens and all that type of thing. What we really have to worry about in this world is the ethical treatment of animals. Even and the fact that we are mass producing these things and creating, horrible conditions for these animals. We have to be better. We have to at least give these animals a decent life before they are. We should find humane ways to put them down and put them on someone's plate if that's what you want to eat. We've been eating meat for millions of years. It's not going to change. There are people that want to eat meat. I like to eat meat occasionally. I like a good breast of chicken. I like to eat it occasionally, but I would prefer that the animal that's on my plate to be treated humanely most of its life. I'd like to eat a happy chicken, you know.
For sure.
And there's ways we can do that as a society. We need to be better with this stuff, but I am looking forward to the day when there's lab-grown meat where they just take, you know, a little DNA from a cow, and then from that point on forever, they can just mass produce lab-grown meat that tastes good. It doesn't have E. coli. It doesn't have any diseases in it. It doesn't have mad cow disease. It's grown in a lab, and it's genetically engineered. And that's another thing. I hate people that get all about genetically engineered food and GMOs. Like, we've been doing it for thousands of years. It's not Monsanto and all that stuff. Yeah, some of that stuff's bad, but we've been creating GMO stuff for literally thousands of years. It's how we feed ourselves. It's how we feed our overpopulation of this planet. It's not hurting anything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt you. But genetically modified meat that's grown in a lab, I'll eat a burger all day if it comes from a lab. And I know that no animal was harmed in creating that meat. I'm totally okay with that.
No, I agree with all that.
And we probably just lost a lot of listeners who are not into this stuff. But, you know.
No, it's all good. That also led to a separate article that I'll briefly say is that at Princeton, there is an all-male a cappella group that it has been demanded that they stop singing the song Kiss the Girl from The Little Mermaid. Because according to a sophomore who wrote an article about it, asked the group to stop singing the song because, and I quote, "it's more misogynistic and dismissive of consent than cute."
Really?
Yeah, we're worried about a cover of a Disney song than other bigger issues in the world.
Yeah.
So that's my little soapbox. I shout out to Brandon for posting that. I had a very good laugh at work today reading that.
You know what's kind of weird? I was actually watching the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving special a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, don't even get me started on that story.
Before all this stuff happened, I was sitting there watching it, and at the end of the show, it showed, you know, Snoopy and Woodstock eating turkey, and I was like, huh. That's kind of weird when you really sit and think about it. And then like a day later, it's all over the internet about how Woodstock is a cannibal. And then I'm like, wow, that's weird. And then like a day after that, everybody's talking about how there's some racial stuff going on because they stuck Franklin on one side of the table by himself. And I'm like, it's a cartoon, man.
It was made 45 years ago.
At least they had a black kid in it. You know, like, really? Come on now.
If they were racist, they wouldn't have put him in the special to begin with.
Exactly. Like,
Jesus fuck.
And Woodstock is not a real bird, okay? He was eating turkey, but that turkey was not real. It was drawn with a brush and inks and colors, and he's not real. He wasn't really eating the turkey.
It's a cartoon.
It's a cartoon. So, on that note,
let's move on to gaming stuff.
Yes. This came to us on ArsTechnica.com. Lowe reveals his Sierra source code collection, then puts all of it on eBay. He says, "This is the only copy, and I backed everything up because I knew Sierra didn't." Lowe, one of Sierra Online's, which you may know Sierra. We talk about him almost every single week on this month in video game history. One of the seminal game creators and programmers has been sitting on a pile of his original game source codes for over 30 years, fully convinced that they were worthless. He said, "I'm 72 years old and none of my kids want this junk." He said, "Does anybody?" Lowe was about to find out as the developer began posting eBay listings for his entire source code collection. The sales opening has been accompanied by a Metal Jesus Rocks video, which offers a 12-minute tour of backed up files, original game boxes, original hint books, and more. As of press time, Lowe has listed auctions for the first 2 Leisure Suit Larry game source codes, which bids already climbing both well above the $400 mark after they went live.
And I've got some updated numbers, but I'll tell you after you finish.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because this is about a week old. But also the Leisure Suit Larry games, King's Quest 3, Police Quest 1, and Lowe's games based on Disney franchises Winnie the Pooh and the Black Cauldron. So this is kind of a big deal, that these are the only copies of these original source codes for these games.
So I'm looking at eBay now. The source code to Leisure Suit Larry 1 is up to $10,000.
Wow! And
is Leisure Suit Larry 2.
How much longer before it's over?
A little over 5 days.
Okay, because we record this on Tuesday night, so this is Tuesday, December 4th. So if you want to get in on that and get yourself some original Sierra Online source codes, now's the time to do it.
It ends at Monday at 8 a.m.
Okay, so you got a little less than a week if you're listening to this live, or you're listening to this Wednesday morning when it comes out on the podcast feed. You have a little less than a week to go grab yourself up some original Sierra Online source codes.
This is insane. Boppa Bet is up to 10 grand.
Wow. I think they're all going to go over 10 grand at least.
Yeah, Dragon's Keep is up to 1,500.
Crazy. He's going to make himself a lot of... I'm surprised. I mean, Sierra isn't still around, is it? In some form or fashion. I mean, it's probably been taken over by someone at this point, but someone has to lay claim to this stuff other than him.
Let's see. I don't think they are, but let me double check. Sierra Entertainment. No, they dissolved in August of 2004.
So wow, I guess all that intellectual property rights must have dissolved with it.
Yeah. That's insane. No, he's going to make himself some money.
Yeah.
He will never have to work again.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy
fantastic.
that he's the only one that has all that original code.
Yeah.
Wow.
And our last story comes to us from the New York Times. The future is bright for the video games of yesterday. Scott Bachrock, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, remembers playing games like Centipede, Galaga, and Pac-Man with his friends at his local arcade in LA in the 1980s. It was the spot where we went to on Friday nights, he says, now 50. We put our quarters on the top of the machines to play the game, and we would play for hours. Now, as the chief executive of Taste Makers, a toy company, he is recreating that experience for a new generation. The business has collected licenses for his favorite games and others like Street Fighter II, and is reproducing them in its arcade one-up arcade-style cabinets. That was a passion project, he said, that turned into a significant business for us. And then it goes on to say that they're not alone in trying to capitalize on the nostalgia, talking about Nintendo kind of helping jumpstart that with the release of the NES Classic back in 2016. I think this is really cool because it's somebody who legitimately grew up playing those type of games, and now he wants today's generation of kids to be able to play them the same way.
Yeah, the reason I put this in here is because I actually went to Walmart the other day, and they had a bunch of these, what's the name of the arcade one-up cabinets? I was so tempted. I was so tempted to get one. And but here's a number here. Let's see. 1 in 5 new consoles sold in the United States this year has been a retro plug-and-play device. Contributing to the overall growth in the video game industry, sales of hardware, software, and accessories in the U.S. reached $14.6 billion in 2017, an 11% increase over 2016. That's a lot of money for retro gaming stuff.
Well, I even remember when you and I were first talking about doing this podcast when it was really in its infancy, when we were talking about how popular it was going to get, because you were getting back into collecting old games. I was doing the same. And that's a highlight of it, is that we get to kind of go along for the ride.
And that's the thing. Like, never expected, retro gaming to be as hot as it is for as long as it's been. I would have thought that there would have been sort of a drop off at this point, but every time I think it's going to start dropping off, it just keeps getting bigger. Like these arcade 1-up machines, these things are selling like gangbusters. Even the new PlayStation Classic, everybody that poo-pooed it, it's, people are already hacking it, and people are wanting it, and it's crazy. Like, where does it end? Like, I would love to be able to go buy. I would love for the price of Nintendo games to go down, because I'm not in the Nintendo, the NES market to flip anything. I don't want to buy anything cheap and turn around and sell it. I just want stuff for my own personal collection because I grew up with it. I want the stuff that I didn't get to have as a kid. And case in point, I wanted to do a review. I think, who was it? Brandon Rutledge, or was it Tyler?
Talk about Die Hard?
Yeah, Die Hard. I can't remember.
It was Brandon.
Yeah, I can't remember. He suggested that we do a dual review of Die Hard the game and Die Hard the movie for our Christmas episode, which I thought was a great idea. I had no idea, because I never looked before. I was never interested in the Die Hard NES game. So I called up my local retro shop and asked them if they had a copy. They did. $95 for Die Hard, the NES game. And I was like, there's no way that game is that expensive. I looked it up on eBay. It's well over $100 on eBay. And I'm just like, who is clamoring
is
for
it because
Die
it's that
Hard?
hard to find?
Because I guess it's rare, or not really rare, but it's not a common game, I guess. Like, I would have thought Die Hard was like, dime a dozen type of game, but I guess not.
Weird.
But
I would not have expected that.
I texted you that night. I was like, I guess we're not doing Die Hard for Christmas.
And I was like, yep, screw that.
Because as much as I want to have the game, I'm not paying $95 for it, because I don't want it that badly. Like, if it was a complete in box, I don't know, Mega Man 2 or something, yeah, I'm throwing down $95 like right now. But not Die Hard, something I'm going to play twice and then probably never touch again.
That's insane. I remember when you texted me, it just blew my mind that Die Hard of all games would be $95.
I was on the phone with the guy, and I was like, do you have a copy of Die Hard? And he's like, yeah, let me go look real quick. And of course, he puts me on hold, and he comes back. He's like, yeah, we have a copy of it. I was like, well, how much you want for it? I'm thinking like $5-6. He goes, $95. And I was like, say what?
What?
He's like, $95. I was like, are you shitting me? He said, no, it's not exactly a common game. I was like, okay, thank you. Bye-bye. And hung up on him. I'm like, nope, not doing it.
Does that include all the movies on Blu-ray?
Yeah. Does it cook me breakfast in the morning?
Yeah, exactly.
No, thank you.
Wow. Nope. So we'll do something else for our Christmas episode.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. I was trying to look up and see if there were any more Christmas-themed video games I could pick up, but there aren't that many.
There is a Home Alone game, but
I'm not doing
it's
that.
awful. No, it's awful.
Just as a lark, let me look up on eBay real quick, just to see how much Home Alone is for the NES. I'm looking this up live right now. Home Alone.
I mean, I wouldn't want to do it just because it's not a good game anyway.
Yes. Yeah,
because there was a Super Nintendo version that I played for about 5 minutes and never played it again.
Oh, you can pick one up for like, oh, here's one, $6.66. That doesn't bode well.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, they run about $6-7. Oh, here's one for the Super Nintendo. Starting bid $2.
You would have to pay me to play that game again.
Yeah, not gonna happen. So let's go ahead and move into this month in video game history. In December of 1980, Data East releases the Deco cassette system, the first standardized arcade platform for which many games are developed during the golden age of arcade video games. Let me look up this Deco cassette system. See what this bad boy looks like.
I like the loading screen.
Yeah. It was the first standardized arcade system that allowed arcade owners to change names. The arcade owner would buy a base cabinet while the games were stored on standard audio cassettes. The arcade owner would insert the cassette and a security dongle into the cabinet. I hate the word dongle. We need to change that word.
Yeah.
When the cabinet was powered up, the program from the tape would be copied into the RAM chips. This process took about 2 to 3 minutes. After this, the game could be played freely until the cabinet was rebooted. That's pretty sweet. I'd love to get my hands on some of the old cassettes of the arcade games. That would be cool to have.
Do you think it would play Star-Lord's Awesome Mix Volume 1?
Maybe.
That was a terrible joke. I'm sorry. December of 1985, Namco releases Sky Kid, a side-scrolling shooter allowing 2 players to play simultaneously.
I remember us talking about this last year. Sky Kid.
I like the art for it.
Yeah.
Like this would be, just looking at the artwork, it would be a game that I would probably beg my mom to get me. Just because I think it looks cool. It reminds me of the cover of a comic book in a way.
I don't remember this game for the NES, but there was one for the NES that came out in '86.
And it was also released on the Virtual Console.
Yep.
For the Wii. Oh, it's on the 3DS. Interesting.
In December of 1986, well, lots of Namco releases. Namco releases Rolling Thunder, distributed outside Japan by Atari Games. Did you ever play Rolling Thunder in the actual arcade?
I did not.
It was a pretty good arcade game. All the ports to, I remember they made a port of it. Tengen made a port of it to the NES. It was not good. Yeah,
I don't really know much or really anything about this game. Again, I like the flyer. It looks very comic book like.
I think it would make actually a pretty good re-release. Because it was a great arcade game.
It would go great on the Switch. Drink Wally.
December 19th of 1986, Nintendo releases Kid Icarus, another game I need to get my hands on because I really want to play this game. I have not played it in decades. But the only thing I remember from Kid Icarus is that it is insanely difficult.
That's what I've heard, but never played that one. Like I've said before, my NES knowledge was very limited around that time.
I remember that you watched Captain in the Game Master, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was the guy that was like a talking eggplant?
The Eggplant Wizard?
Yeah, the Eggplant Wizard. He was from Kid Icarus.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was a good cartoon.
That's what we need to do. We need to review an episode of Captain in the Game Master. We should do a commentary. We should do that for Christmas.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm in.
Let's do that.
I was hoping you'd say Legend of Zelda, but I'll settle for Captain N.
I'm
kidding. We could do Captain N.
Okay.
December 14th of 1990, Commander Keen is released as shareware, the first major platformer on a PC.
Commander Keen, what is this?
The cover art is on point for this episode.
Yeah, it is. I love that cover art. Wow.
Let's see. A series of side-scrolling platform games developed by ID Software. It consists of 6 main episodes, a lost episode, and a final game. All but the final game were originally released for MS-DOS in 90 and 91, while the 2001 Commander Keen was released for the Game Boy Color.
Awesome.
Never heard of this franchise.
December 1st, there's a lot of stuff for 1991. So here we go. Let's get started. December 1st, 1991, LucasArts releases Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge for the Amiga, MS-DOS, Macintosh, and FM Towns.
And we've talked about Monkey Island before.
Yeah, if you're interested in playing Monkey Island, any of the Monkey Island games, which are really good, you can pick them up on Steam, and Good Old Games. Right now, they're LucasArts point and click adventures like Day of the Tentacle and stuff like that. So if you're into those type of point and click adventures, go pick up Monkey Island on Steam.
Absolutely. December 4th of 1991. 91 was a busy year.
Yeah, it was.
Especially in December. Konami releases Super Castlevania 4 for SNES in North America, which I reviewed, I think... Did I review that this year or last year?
Last year. I think you did it for last October.
Yes, because it was part of the SNES Classic.
Mm-hmm.
So that was where I played it.
Such a good game. If you're into Castlevania at all, this is one of the best... This Castlevania 1 for the NES, Super Castlevania for the SNES, and a couple of the Castlevania games that came later, like for PlayStation, those were really good. So if you want to step into Castlevania, get these two first. The first Castlevania for NES and Super Castlevania for SNES. You can't go wrong.
Yep, Super Castlevania, very good game.
On December 6th of 1991, Mega Man 4 was released in Japan.
Heard of this game?
I think I have too. I've heard of this Mega Man character.
But it's not actually like Mega Man 2, right? Like it's the proper numerical order? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, man. December 13th of 1991, Tecmo releases Tecmo Super Bowl for NES, the follow-up to 1989's Tecmo Bowl.
I loved the Tecmo Bowl games when I was a kid.
Even though they were slightly broken.
Yeah.
They were still fun, because all you had to do was play as the Raiders, pick Bo Jackson, and you could not be beaten.
I had a lot of memories of playing Tecmo Bowl with my friends on the weekends, like staying up really late, playing Tecmo Bowl, eating Doritos, drinking Cokes, all the junk food you could eat.
Tecmo Bowls are classic.
Two more to close us out. On December 16th of 1991, Microprose releases Civilization. As of 2005, it is still Sid Meier's most successful game. I love the Civilization games. I don't know if you've ever played them. Actually, right now, I think you can go on Steam and get Civ 5 with all the DLC. I think I picked it up for like $15 on a sale about a year or so ago, but it's always on sale. So if you're interested in any of the Civilization games, you should do that. Plus the Civilization Revolution came out on Xbox 360, which was really good. And then there's another Civilization, I think Civ Rev game coming out for the Switch early next year, which I am very interested in getting. Drink, Wally.
Yeah, I would like to play the Civ games, but I know it's one of those that if I did, I would probably not be able to stop.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those games where when I started playing Civ 5, I started a game at like 9 o'clock at night, and next thing I know, it's like 4 in the morning. So it's one of those type of games.
I know exactly what you mean. And to close us out on this month in video game history, on December 1st, 1991, Sega releases the Mega CD in Japan, one of two attachments that came along for the Sega Genesis. Probably the most notable name for this was the Sonic CD game, which I do want to go back and try and beat at some point, but it's a very good Sonic game. But other than that, I mean, I really played Sega for the Sonic games. I never bothered with the attachments all that much. I played Sonic CD for the PC.
Yeah.
So I never actually owned any of the attachments.
Yeah, I didn't even own a Sega, so I have to rectify that somehow soon.
I'm sure you'll be able to find one eventually.
But tonight we are going to be talking about... Kid Niki Radical Ninja is a side-scrolling platform action game developed by IREM and published by both IREM and Data East. It was originally released in the arcade in 1986, and a year later, IREM made a home port of it on the Nintendo Entertainment System and later released it on the Commodore 64 and Apple II. Very kind of simple story to the game. Kid Niki begins with Kid Niki training in a ninja school. While he's training, a bird gets shot down by an arrow inside the dojo, which is weird, containing a message from the evil stone wizard saying that he has kidnapped Princess Margot. Without hesitation, Kid Niki jumps through the school's thin wall and goes to the rescue. So there's not really much that, it's a save the princess type of game, much along the lines of like Super Mario Brothers and stuff. One of the things that I noticed playing this recently, like I said a couple of weeks ago, this is actually one of the very first, I think probably the first game I ever played for the Nintendo. And then I remembered there was, right down the street from my house, there was this gas station. And they started to eventually rent videos out of the gas station. And then they started to rent Nintendo Entertainment Systems. So one weekend, I asked my mom for whatever it was, like $10-15 to rent a Nintendo. I rented a Nintendo for the weekend, and I got Kid Niki. And that was kind of my first foray into playing Nintendo in my home, in my bedroom. So I have a lot of memories of playing this game. Haven't really played it much since then. I picked it up a couple of months back at a flea market. I think I got it for like $3 or $4. It's a very common game, so it's not hard to find a copy of Kid Niki anywhere. But one of the things I noticed about this game playing it is how really difficult this game is. Like, it's very much in the vein of Mario. Like, it's a very early Nintendo game. The graphics are kind of sparse. They're not very detailed. I mean, the game looks great, don't get me wrong, but it's still got kind of that early Nintendo look to it. And as far as the side-scrolling elements, like the hit detection is a little too much sometimes, and it's one-hit deaths in this game. So that was really, really frustrating.
That sucks.
Any questions thus far about Kid Niki?
Well, I was going to comment, I did watch some gameplay of it before we started. It did remind me a lot of Mario. It seems like it plays in a very similar way, like a platformer. I did notice, you use a sword, which was pretty cool. It seemed like a really short game.
It is. There's only 6 levels to the game, and the bosses are actually easier than some of the other enemies. Like, all the enemies in the game are one-hit enemies. But if you get touched, and sometimes there's really no kind of rhyme or reason to the spawning of enemies in this game. Like, you can't really count on anything being the same twice. It's weird. Like, I don't know how people do speed runs, if you can even do a speed run with this game, because there's no way to predict how many enemies you're going to get at the same time. Sometimes I'll start a level and there will be like just enemy after enemy coming after me, and then sometimes I start the level and there's nobody for like, a good ways into starting the level. It's weird. And then you get stuff like you'll have enemies in trees that throw like coconuts at you, or not coconuts, but bombs. And if you get hit by a bomb while you're trying to jump in the air or try to dodge them, you die. If you get hit, you step in the fire, you die. Like, everything kills you in one hit. And it's frustrating, because I died so many times just like on the second level trying to get through this area where they're throwing bombs out of trees. And it's really frustratingly hard, way harder than I remember this game being. And but yeah, it's really a lot of what I have to say about the game is just the hit detection in this game is just really frustrating.
Is it hard in the extent of, because we've talked about this before, is it hard in the way of you want to keep trying to beat it, or is it frustrating to where you just put the game away and don't want to play it anymore?
Kind of a little more to the latter. Because there's no, like, kind of rhyme or reason, there's no patterns that you can follow because it's different every time you go through the game. There's no way to kind of learn how to go through the level and dodge things, and like, you can go through Mario Brothers and all the enemies are always in the exact same spots. That's what makes speed running so popular with that type of game. And I don't know. I mean, it's a good game. I'm not gonna poo-poo it too much. I mean, I do think that this is definitely a must-have for any Nintendo collection, but it's kind of frustrating to the point where you just kind of just get like, I don't really feel like doing this right now. That kind of thing,
Yeah.
And it is available, not the NES version, but the actual arcade version is available on the Nintendo Switch for the Arcade Archives collection that they have. So if you're interested in playing the actual arcade version of this game, you can pick it up on the Nintendo Switch.
The Arcade Archives are actually pretty cool. I've got the Donkey Kong one,
Yeah.
And the Mario Brothers version, and I like both. So
Yeah, and like I said, some of the bosses, it's weird because you get killed so easily by just regular enemies, but then you're in a boss battle and you'll get like thrown all over the screen and hit and you don't die. It's weird. It's really strange. But let's see, there's 6 levels to the game. I didn't actually finish the game. I think I got like 4 levels in. I got to a part where I was trying to go across, not a bridge, but there's this part where you go across and there's water underneath and there's bubbles that come up, and you can't predict where the bubbles are coming from, and bubbles kill you in one hit. Bubbles, not lava or anything, like that. It's bubbles were killing me, and I got frustrated. I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore.
And that sounds just a little bit obnoxious.
Yeah. But like I said, I would like to actually try the arcade version of the game on the Switch, which I might do over the holidays, because I do like this game. I liked it as a kid, but it is frustrating just because of the sheer fact that there is no rhyme or reason to like the spawning of enemies, or there's no patterns to anything. It's so random, and that's my biggest complaint with the game. Which is why I actually looked up on YouTube to see if there were any speed runs, and I didn't see any.
Yeah, I didn't see any when I looked at when I went on YouTube to watch the gameplay.
I don't think you can speed run this game because it's so random.
I would agree with that. Well, even the gameplay version that I watched was it was less than an hour.
Yeah.
For sure. So that's, I could even tell by that alone that it was a really short game.
Yeah. But that, I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a solid 6. It's a little bit better than, a 50%. It's not something you're going to want to play all the time. But if you want that definitive, like, this game is definitive Nintendo to me. That's why I like it so much. It's one of the first games I ever played. I have a lot of memories of this game. And, I give it a little bit of leeway that way. But I do think it is an essential must-have for a Nintendo collection because it does scream Nintendo to me. Like, that. When I think of Nintendo, this is one of the games that pops in my head because it was one of the first ones I played.
No, I can understand the sentimental value at least.
Yeah, and like I said, the music's really repetitive. There's not much to really choose from. As you're gonna get really tired of hearing this.
Yeah.
You're gonna hear that the whole game. So get used to that. And the graphics, like I said, are very early Nintendo. They're not very detailed. It's kind of, I mean, it's a good looking game. It's not ugly by any means, but it's not anything special. But like I said, it's worth having. It's worth playing. I like to play the game occasionally, but I am really interested in getting the arcade version for the Switch. So I think I'm going to do that over the holidays.
Yeah, for sure.
But
No, it looked interesting from what I watched on YouTube, but I can see where it would be frustrating for sure.
Yeah. So any other questions or comments about Kid Niki?
I don't think so. I think you pretty much covered it.
Another thing I wanted to say, there is power-ups in the game that you can get, but they don't really do anything to help. So I don't ever really bother with getting the power-ups in the game. Like, this game could be improved a lot. And that's why I'm kind of interested in the actual arcade version to see what the differences were between it and the Nintendo version.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I give it a 6. So it's not a bad game. It's not a great game. It's just kind of one of those middle-of-the-road Nintendo games. But I do think it should be in everybody's collection. And you can go to any retro game store and you'll probably see 5 copies on the shelf. I mean, this is one of those dime a dozen Nintendo games that you can pick up for like $3 or $4. I mean, you're not going to be paying out of your, you're not going to break the bank buying Kid Niki. So if you come across a copy, pick it up. You'll be happy you did.
So if you bring home the bacon, you'll be able to afford it.
Yeah, but don't put all your eggs in one basket. Or and there's more than one way to skin a cat for gaining Nintendo games. I don't know how to make those work.
But just make sure you put some bread on the table.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna tell the listeners what I'm gonna be reviewing next week.
Oh, yes.
So what's crazy is next week is technically my last review of 2018.
Oh.
Because you'll have one more, and then we have our Christmas show, and then we come back on New Year's Day.
Yes, we do.
Which is kind of crazy.
Oh, I got to get started again on Metroid.
Yeah, same. So it might have been earlier this year, but you reviewed a game called Faxanadu that was sent by a guy named, I think his name's Nicholas.
Yeah, was that our Swedish listener?
Yes.
Swedish!
So, yeah. So he messaged me last month on Instagram.
Yeah, he did me too.
And asked if I would review the 7th saga for the SNES.
Ooh. So
next week, that's going to be what I review.
Nice. For our Swedish listeners.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm excited for the coming up new year. I'm really looking forward to our Metroid month and January. I think we need to do some more theme months coming up next year because we've got a lot of franchises that we've never covered that we need to get into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got to go over our list and figure something out because I think, doing at least 1 or 2 other months I think would be great.
I really think we should do a LucasArts month where we do Monkey Island games.
I like that.
And let's just do a Sierra month. We'll get some Sierra games and
I hope you got $10,000 to spare.
Yeah. Let me check between the couch cushions.
Yeah, same. But yeah, other than that, I actually last night, as you said, we record this on Tuesdays. Last night, I did 2 really good interviews for my other show, which will be, what's crazy is now relaunching in about a month.
Ooh, that's coming up.
Which is kind of crazy to think about. So, really excited for everybody to hear the filmmaking themed episodes of the Derek Diamond Experience. One, I won't give away too much, but one of the interviews I did was a filmmaker who has been in a wheelchair since she was 7 years old and did a documentary about how disability is portrayed in film.
Oh, wow.
It was actually a really good documentary. And then the other is a guy who I actually met at Podcast Movement back in July. He does a documentary film podcast and is also a documentary filmmaker.
Awesome.
So
I can't wait to
we
hear
kind of
those.
got to cover, both sides of the coin. So
That's awesome.
so yeah, follow that on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at D Diamond Podcast, and follow the news on my upcoming short film, The Parker Syndrome, which films next weekend, which is kind of crazy to think about. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Parker Syndrome.
Oh, and before I forget, Monsters Anonymous is now officially on Amazon Prime. So if you're an Amazon
congratulations.
Prime, thank you. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can watch Monsters Anonymous for free. So go there, watch it, and please, for the love of all that is holy, please leave us a rating and leave us a review. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be like Siskel and Ebert style, like, page and a half review. Just go on there, say you like the movie. Or hell, even if you hated it, leave a review. I don't care. I just want reviews and ratings. So go on there, look up Monsters Anonymous. It will pop up for you on Amazon Prime, and you can watch it to your heart's content because I'm leaving it up there forever.
That's so awesome.
I know.
Okay, congrats to you, Wally, and everybody that was involved with it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I'm not saying this because I'm friends with you two, but it's a really good movie. You should go watch it.
It's been a long road to get to this point, too. I mean, that's been coming up on 3 years. We filmed it in 2016. April? Yeah, April of 2016. And we're like 4 months away from the 3-year mark of actually filmed it. And now it's finally on Amazon Prime, and the world can see it anytime they want. So go there now and watch it. Monsters Anonymous. Directed by Jeremy London, starring Brian O'Halloran, Dante from Clerks, Jackie Siegel, the Queen of Versailles herself, is in it. Juliette Reeves-London is in it. And just go watch it, please. I'm begging you, go watch it.
Well, and you're in it.
Oh yeah, well, me and Wally wrote it, so I'm in it.
Wally's part might have been my favorite of the entire movie.
Yeah, I think that's the part that gets the biggest laughs every time people watch it. You can't recreate that kind of comedy. So
we'll just say you can't write it.
Yeah, you can't write that kind of comedy. That was completely off the cuff, and just like you couldn't have gotten it any better than that.
That's good stuff.
But yeah, that's the end of the show. So, Derek, anything else before we go?
That's all I've got.
Let me get our music here. Will it play? Oh, there we go. If you would like to email us, you can email us at nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. We are at nerdcaveretro.com. We're on Instagram and Twitter at nerdcaveretro. Individually at jfunktastic and at Derek_Diamond. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdcaveretro. Go support us on Patreon at patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. Get us up to the $50 a month mark, and we will do an extra episode every month where we do a commentary or whatever it is we feel like doing. You'll get an extra episode every month. And also, wherever you get us at, leave us a review. Please, it helps get us in front of more people and makes the show better. So, Derek, please tell everyone what it's all about.
May the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.
Monkey!
Alrighty, that's a show. Let
Yeah.
me, before I forget, I need to block out the Kid Niki here so I don't forget. Make it red.
I think I did that with my last game.
All right. Oh, oops, I did that wrong. I love you, Google Docs.
Right?
None. Here we go. Now I did it right. So everybody watching on Twitch, thank you so much, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.